Have you ever found yourself standing in the bathroom, again, wondering, is this normal? Waking at night more than you used to. Slower stream. That quiet hesitation, not just in your body, but in your mind. What if I told you that tiny walnut-sized gland, the prostate, is quietly shaping how you sleep, how you connect, and even how you feel about yourself after 50? And what if most men never talk about it? In this story, I'm going to walk you through the journey every man deserves to hear. The truth about the prostate after 50, but this isn't just a medical lecture. This is about Victor, who thought he was fine until he wasn't. About Kareem, who began to wonder if he was still the man his wife married. About Yuri, who found healing not in pills, but in quiet, daily rituals. And maybe, about you, we'll talk about the symptoms no one warns you about. The fear that steals your confidence. The small, powerful changes that can give you your sleep and your spark back. And most importantly, how to listen to your body before it starts yelling that if you're a man over 50 or love someone who is. This isn't just a story. This is your invitation to turn confusion into clarity, silence into strength, and aging into authority. The prostate doesn't define you, but how you care for it might just change everything. Let's begin. The male prostate after 50. What no one tells you on a poster, it opens with a sharp emotional hook, unfolds through 5 turning points with micro stories and quiet revelations, and plants the emotional seed that will blossom in later parts. Part 1. I just go to the bathroom more. Or is it more than that? He didn't look worried. That's the thing I remember most. He sat down slowly, took a breath, and said, "Doc, I'm not here for anything urgent. Just getting up a bit more. At night, that's all. Probably nothing." His name was Victor, 58, former electrician, father of 3, sharp wit, good handshake, wore the same flannel jacket he'd had for decades. "Honestly," he continued, "it's just a nuisance. I get up, I go, I come back. Happens once, maybe twice a night." He paused, almost embarrassed by his own caution. "But my dad had prostate cancer, and I just figured maybe I should check." He said it casually, but I heard what he didn't say. "I'm afraid, but I don't want to make a fuss." That's the story of the prostate, after all. Silent, polite, rarely discussed. Just a little gland, tucked deep inside, often ignored until it demands attention. But here's what every man over 50 deserves to know. The prostate doesn't just shape your urination. It shapes your confidence, your intimacy, your peace of mind. And when it starts changing, as it does in nearly all men after 50, it doesn't send alarms. It whispers. And those whispers, they're easy to miss until you can't. Let me walk you through the first whispered. It usually comes at night. You wake, not from a dream, not from pain, but from pressure, a quiet urgency. The bathroom calls. Again you go? It takes longer. The stream is weaker. You're not sure if you emptied all the way. You go back to bed. Repeat. Some men write it off as just getting older. But here's the truth. This is your body knocking. Not necessarily a danger sign, but a shift. The prostate, that walnut-sized gland just below your bladder, begins to grow with age. Slowly, gradually. This is called benign prostatic hyperplasia, or BPH. Not cancer, not life-threatening, but it is life-changing. When left unattended. I remember Ethan, 61, divorced, dating again, quietly hopeful. He came to me not for prostate issues, but for fatigue. Couldn't focus at work. Always tired. Mood swings. But when I asked about sleep, he laughed. "What sleep? I get up 4 times a night to pee." And when I asked how long it had been happening, his smile dropped. Maybe 2 years. 2 years of broken sleep. 2 years of pressure. 2 years of slowly losing his rhythm, his patience, his spark, not because of aging, because of a gland the size of a chestnut, left unchecked. Here's what most men don't realize. Your prostate doesn't just affect your bathroom habits. It touches everything. Sleep, which affects mood, memory, energy, confidence, especially in new relationships, intimacy. Yes, prostate changes can alter sensation, even function. Safety, some symptoms can mimic cancer, while others hide real danger. And the hardest part, men wait. Not out of laziness, but because the change is so slow, so quiet, so easy to explain away, until it's not. until you're avoiding travel because of bathroom access, until your partner starts noticing your restlessness at night, until you feel yourself becoming a shadow of the man you used to be, not from disease, but from exhaustion. Victor, the man from the beginning, his test came back clear, no cancer, just moderate BPH that we discussed treatment options, lifestyle changes, simple strategies to reduce symptoms, and most importantly, how to monitor his prostate without fear, without shame, without silence. And when he left, he looked lighter, not because he was cured, but because he had clarity, and clarity is power. Next, we'll explore how the prostate is quietly connected to a man's identity, and how even minor changes in this small gland can ripple into self-image, relationships, and the unspoken fear of becoming old. But for now, I'll leave you with this. If you're waking at night, pausing too long at the urinal, or wondering what's happening down there, you're not weak, that you're wise. And the earlier you listen to your body's whispers, the less likely they are to become screams. The gland, the mirror, and the question no one asks. That he sat across from me, staring at the floor. His numbers were fine. No cancer, just an enlarged prostate. Nothing urgent, nothing dangerous. But still, his shoulders slumped. Why do I feel like less of a man? He asked. That I didn't answer right away, because I knew this wasn't about urination, or hormones, or anatomy. It was about something deeper, something almost every man feels when his body starts changing in ways he can't control. Am I still me? The prostate is a strange thing that it hides in silence for most of your life. And then, sometime after 50, it begins to assert itself. You start waking at night. You stay longer in the bathroom. Sometimes, you finish and still feel incomplete. You notice the pressure, the slowness, the occasional discomfort. And at first, you joke about it. Getting old, huh? Guess I've joined the bathroom club. But over time, the humor fades. And what creeps in? Doubt. Not about the gland, about you. Because for many men, changes in the prostate feel like a challenge to identity. It affects how you sleep, how you perform, how you feel about your own body. And that ripple, it doesn't stay in the bathroom. It reaches the bedroom, the mirror, your silence at dinner. I remember a man named Kareem, 59, fit, confident, the kind of man who still wore his shirts tucked in and kept his shoes polished. But when his prostate started acting up, mild symptoms, nothing alarming, something in him changed. He became more withdrawn, stopped dating, lost interest in intimacy, not because he couldn't perform, because he feared he might not. That fear, more than any symptom, was what drained him. And he said something I'll never forget. I didn't realize how much of my confidence lived between bathroom breaks. That's the part no one warns you about. How easily a man's sense of self can become tangled in his physical reliability. How small interruptions, in flow, in function, in feeling, can cast long shadows over his joy. And how silently he suffers because he doesn't want to seem weak, needy, or broken. But the truth, he's none of those things. He's adjusting, and adjusting to a changing body, to a new phase of life, to a different kind of strength, is not failure. It's evolution. When Kareem and I talked more, I asked him one question. If this weren't about your prostate, what would it be about? He paused, then said, it's about feeling like I'm fading, like parts of me are getting quieter. That was his truth. But here's what I told him, and what I want to tell you. The prostate may grow, the body may shift, but the man you are, he doesn't disappear. He deepens if you let him. In next part, we'll dig into what actually causes the prostate to enlarge, and why it happens to almost every man. We'll also explore which symptoms matter, and which ones you can manage gently, safely, and without panic. But for now, remember, your worth is not in your water flow, it's in your willingness to meet yourself. Honestly, fully, patiently. At every stage of life. Even in the bathroom mirror, especially there. We talk a lot about aging as decline, as something falling apart. But what if, in the case of the prostate, it's simply a change in function that needs new understanding? Nearly every man will experience some degree of prostate enlargement as he ages. It's not a failure. It's a pattern. The medical term is benign prostatic hyperplasia, BPH. Benign meaning non-cancerous. Hyperplasia meaning the cells are multiplying, thickening the tissue. Why it happens isn't entirely clear. Some say it's due to lifelong exposure to testosterone. Others point to genetics, inflammation, metabolism. But what we know for sure is this. It happens gradually, so gradually that most men don't notice. Until one day they're standing at the urinal, wondering why the stream is weaker or why they feel like going again 10 minutes after they just went. And by that point, the mind starts racing. Is it cancer? Is something broken? Do I need surgery? Not always. In fact, often, no. Most cases of BPH are managed without surgery. Some men only need lifestyle changes. Others benefit from mild medications that relax the muscles around the bladder and prostate, or shrink the gland over time. But what matters more than any treatment is this: paying attention early, because the longer you wait, the more likely it is that irritation turns into inflammation, that sleep turns into fatigue, that worry turns into silence. And silence? That's where fear grows. I remember Stepan, 72. A gentle, soft-spoken man who brought his wife to every appointment. She always waited outside. Until this one day, she came in with him. He doesn't sleep, she told me. He's up 6 times a night. I'm worried. Stepan looked down, ashamed. I just thought it was normal, he said. It started so slowly. I didn't want to bother anyone. But here's the thing. It wasn't just bothering him. It was affecting her too. Their evenings, their connection, her sleep, their intimacy. We adjusted his medication, suggested pelvic floor exercises, changed his fluid intake after 7 p.m. Simple things. And within weeks, 2 trips to the bathroom instead of 6, he came back, holding her hand. Not just rested, but renewed. I forgot how good it felt to feel good. He told me that's what men deserve to know, that the prostate may grow, but so can wellness. So can clarity. So can your capacity to care for yourself without shame or delay. You don't need to suffer in silence. You need to notice and act with intention. And when you do, the path forward opens. Quietly, gently, just like the symptoms did. Only this time, in the direction of healing. Here is the next part of the story. A deeper exploration of how the prostate doesn't just affect the body, but ripples into relationships, identity, and the intimate moments most men find hardest to talk about. It's strange how something so small can create so much distance between two people. A gland the size of a walnut. That's all. And yet, when it begins to change, men pull away. Not because they want to, but because they don't know what to say. They grow quiet during dinner. They hesitate to reach for their partner in bed. They make jokes, avoid eye contact, brush off concern with phrases like, "I'm just tired." But underneath the surface, there's fear, embarrassment, a gnawing sense of failure that no one ever prepared them for. Because prostate changes don't just affect flow or frequency, they affect intimacy. And when that changes, especially without explanation, it can feel like part of you is going missing. I remember Anatoly, 66, married for over 40 years. He told me his symptoms weren't that bad, some urgency, some dribbling, but manageable. Then I asked him a different question. How's your connection with your wife? That's when he paused. It's quieter, he said. She thinks, I don't want her anymore. But I do. I just don't feel confident. I'm afraid I'll disappoint her. That's the part we don't talk about. The emotional weight of physical change, when a man's body no longer responds the way it used. 2. He begins to retreat, not because of pride, but because of protection. He doesn't want to see the look on her face. He doesn't want to risk the moment going wrong, so he avoids the moment altogether. And she, sensing the withdrawal, begins to feel unwanted, not knowing that it's not desire that's faded. It's certainty. What most men don't realize is that their partner often doesn't expect perfection. She just wants presence. She wants to be seen, touched, acknowledged. But when the prostate brings discomfort, or anxiety, or fear of failing, men disconnect, not only from their partner, but from themselves. They stop initiating. They stop talking. They stop trying. Not because they don't care, but because they care too much, and the silence becomes a wall. Anatoly and I talked for a long time. I explained how prostate enlargement can impact sensation, timing, even confidence and physical response. Not because of desire, but because of pressure, tension, and disrupted flow. And I asked him to consider something simple. Instead of focusing on performance, focus on connection. Light touch, gentle conversation, shared presence, emotional safety. He nodded. A month later, he came back with a quiet smile. We lay together the other night, he said. No pressure, just holding. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel afraid. That's the healing men need. Not just medical, relational, emotional, personal. The prostate may change, but connection doesn't have to disappear. Sometimes, all it takes is one honest moment to begin again. This time, without shame. Only courage, quiet, and care. Not every solution comes in a pill. That's one of the hardest and most hopeful truths I've learned after decades in medicine. Yes, medication has its place. It can relax muscles, reduce pressure, shrink the gland over time. But healing, real, grounded, day-to-day healing, often begins in the smallest changes. And for the prostate, those changes matter more than most men realize. Let me introduce you to Yuri. 70. Retired metalworker. Lived alone, still fixed his neighbor's tools, still made borscht every Sunday from scratch. That he came in for the usual reasons. Waking 3 or 4 times a night. Urgency during the day, mild leakage when he laughed too hard. I've gotten used to it, he said, but I'd rather not. When I offered him medication, he hesitated. I don't want to feel like I'm on something, he said. Is there another way? There was, but it would take attention, not magic. That we started with fluid timing. Most men drink throughout the evening without realizing how it builds pressure at night. And we cut his intake after 6 p.m., increased water earlier in the day, and reduced caffeine, which irritates the bladder, to 1 morning cup. Then we looked at movement. Yuri had stopped walking during winter. Too cold, he said, but daily walking, even 15 minutes, improves circulation in the pelvic region, reduces inflammation, and helps regulate nervous system tone. It's simple and powerful. So we set a goal. Walk after lunch, rain or shine. Then came food. Cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and cabbage, rich in antioxidants, support prostate health. So do berries, pumpkin seeds, and oily fish. Less red meat, less sugar, fewer processed carbs, and perhaps most overlooked, pelvic floor awareness. That we introduced simple exercises to strengthen the muscles that support bladder control. Just a few minutes a day, done while sitting. No gym. No equipment. Just intention. After 4 weeks, Yuri returned. Same hat. Same smile. But something was different. I slept through the night, he said. First time in months. He leaned in. It's not just about the bathroom, he whispered. I feel more in control. More steady. That's the gift of these quiet habits. They don't just help your prostate. They restore something men often lose with age. The sense that their body still listens to them, still responds, still belongs to them. Healing isn't loud. It's not glamorous. It's a slow remembering of what your body needs and what you still deserve. A good night's sleep, a steady stream, a calm mind, a confident touch. You don't need to overhaul your life. You just need to begin with care. And when you do, the body, the mind, the moments you share with others, they all begin to soften. And from that softness, strength returns. He came back a year later. Victor, the man from the beginning, still wore the same flannel. Still polite, still measured. But this time, he looked rested. Doc, he said, it's better. Not perfect, but better. He'd made the small changes, took the walks, drank less at night, stayed consistent with his checkups. But most of all, he stopped pretending it was nothing. And something shifted, not just in his body, but in his relationship with it. That's the real story of the prostate after 50. Not drama, not catastrophe, but tuning in. What wakes you at night isn't just urgency. It's your body's way of saying, look at me. Listen, I need your care. What slows your stream isn't just biology. It's a call for gentleness, for rhythm, for presence. What pulls you away from your partner isn't always function. Sometimes, it's the fear of not being who you once were. But what if you don't need to be that man? What if the version of you that exists now, wiser, slower, more aware, is exactly the man your body's been asking for? The prostate isn't the enemy, it's the reminder that maintenance matters, that silence can carry symptoms, that self-respect doesn't come from ignoring discomfort. It comes from responding to it with care. I think of all the men I've seen. The ones who waited too long, the ones who caught it just in time, the ones who turned a frustrating symptom into a new beginning. And I wish every man over 50 could hear this. You're not less of a man because your body changes, that you're more of one when you pay attention, when you seek help, when you choose not. Shame, but stewardship. Victor stood to leave that day, turned back, and said, "You know, I thought this would be a sad conversation. But it wasn't. It was respectful. Like my body still has a place in the world. And it does that, so does yours. Whether you're managing symptoms, asking questions, or just beginning to wonder, you belong in this conversation. Because health after 50 isn't just about surviving, it's about aging with dignity, with clarity, with quiet confidence, and yes, with a prostate that's cared for, not feared.